You want another horror stories video? I got another horror stories video for you. Why I never talked about my escapades working in retail before in a video is beyond me. This may be my most epic horror stories video to date. Let's get into it. Skip it up and that up. So for those of you who don't know, I worked in retail on and off for many years. And for those of you who have never worked in retail, I will tell you this, it is a very stressful and interesting career path to take. And for those of you who still work in retail, I salute you because it's one hell of a job to do and it can be very stressful. It can actually be fun too. I had many fun times working in retail, but there are other times that, man oh man, I wanted to lose my mind. When you work with the public on a daily basis, you realize how animal-like the human species truly is. And man, oh man, when you catch people when they're in a bad mood, it can ruin your entire day. And sometimes your coworkers can ruin your day too. Speaking of which, let's get into my first story when I was 16 years old. Now at the time, I was a junior in high school. I turned 16 and my parents said to me, "You need to get a job. You need to learn what it's like to work. You need to learn what it's like to make your own money. You need to learn what it's like to have more responsibility. So we want you to find a job." And they kept hounding me, which they were right. You know, you should teach your kids young to build character and become more responsible, so on and so forth. So I'm going to do the same with my kids. When they turn 16, their asses need to find some kind of work so they can learn how to make a buck. So I actually went to ask friends who was hiring. It was different looking for a job back then. Now, even if you're looking for a job at Taco Bell, you could just go online. But back then, even if you were looking for something part-time as a kid in high school, you had to pound the pavement or ask friends. And my friend Tim was like, "Hey, Rich, I have a job and I could get you a job too. I guarantee you they'll hire you." "Okay, cool, Tim. What kind of job is it?" "It's at an arts and crafts store." "Ah, oh boy, I can't wait to work there." I really didn't want to work there, but my parents were hounding me. They were up my ass, and I was like, "Fine, Tim, ask them for me. I'll fill out an application." And of course, I did get the job. God, I remember the smell of the store. If you've ever been to an arts and crafts store, like you smell all the fake scents they have, the candles they have, the floral arrangements, and it just all hits you at once. They have like cinnamon smells and potpourris, and it's just like all attacking you. I'm getting the same headache I used to get when I worked there, just thinking about it now. It was such an overpowering odor working at this arts and crafts store. Well, anyway, I got the job, and what I found out was that my friend Tim also had his brother working there. And his brother's name was John. Now, John was an interesting character. So there was a stock room at this arts and crafts store. And it was Tim's job to introduce me to all the different aspects of the store and talk to the different employees. And he introduced me to his brother that worked in the stock room. He was a stock guy there, a warehouse guy, I should say. And Tim was like, "Hey, John, this is my friend Rich. He just got hired." Now, most people would just be like, "Hey, Rich, my name's John. How are you?" Not John, though. What John did is he approached me and introduced himself like this. "What's your name again? What's your name?" And I was like, "My name's Rich." He's like, No, I'm not going to call you Rich. I'm going to call you Dick." And I just looked at him and I was like, "Okay, I don't give a crap. You want to call me Dick? That's fine. Call me Dick." He continues on and goes, even better. I'm going to call you Dickers. You are Dickers!" And I'm looking at the guy and I'm like, he's out of his mind. What the hell is wrong with this guy? And he proceeds to go, "Dicks! Dicks!" Looking around, screaming in the warehouse. People, they had to have heard in the store. And then as he's sitting there calling me Dickers, screaming Dickers and Dick, he proceeds to pretend to be intimate with a box. That you would think someone who was joking would do that for about 10 seconds. John went on to do it for about 30 seconds. Passionately. Intense. Thrusting of a box. Now, working at this arts and crafts store, I don't think anyone there actually liked the job. It was terrible. I had two different managers there. There was the store manager. She was the head honcho. Her name was Colleen. She had hair from 1984, and she was a chain smoker. Whenever she brought you in the office, I probably smoked about 10 packs of cigarettes just being in her office. It was 1998, and back then people did smoke in their offices. Whether she was allowed to or not, I don't know, but she did. There was another guy named Bob. Bob was a very unhappy man. Bob had the physique. It was very strange. His entire body was thin, but he had a bowling ball for a gut, and he had long hair that was balding that it was completely unkempt. And Bob was a very angry guy. I remember one time, because I couldn't get my work done, because I didn't really give a crap about the job, let's keep it real, and also working with my friend John, who gave me the nickname Dickers, made it very tough to get anything done. I remember Bob going up to me and saying, "If you don't get what I told you to get done, I'm going to drag you out of this store with my bare hands and never let you get back in again." That was Bob. Bob was a very sad, angry man. Well, anyway, working this job was absolutely terrible, and one of the tasks they wanted us to do, whether you were in the warehouse or front of the store, just helping customers, is they wanted you to clean the bathrooms. Now, okay, there's many people that have to clean bathrooms at retail stores, but there was a surprising catch to cleaning bathrooms at this arts and crafts store. They didn't have any gloves, and they still wanted you to clean. I remember going to them and saying, "Where are the gloves if you want me to clean the bathroom?" And they go, "We don't have gloves. You'll be all right." I'll be all right. You want me to touch clean toilets with fecal matter and urine and Lord knows what else without gloves? Yes, we do. You have to, or you won't have a job. So that was not happening. So what I would do is take basically an entire roll of paper towels. So there was a mile between my hands and contact of any of the disgusting bathrooms. And at best, maybe I would wipe the toilet seat. And even then, like I said, here's the toilet seat. Here's my hand, paper towels in between. Yeah, job was terrible. But that wasn't the worst part of it, though. Let's get back to Tim's brother, John, our friend John. Well, John used to really like getting the carts that were scattered around the parking lot at this arts and crafts store. But here is the thing. It's an arts and crafts store, and most of the time people really didn't use carts unless they got a ton of stuff. Most of the times they would just have a bag or two and wouldn't even need the carts. But John really enjoyed to go outside for very long periods of time and get the carts. But what John was really doing was smoking bowls of angel dust. And when John came back in, John would be stoned out of his mind. It was like he turned into the Incredible Hulk. John would walk outside, be normal, and then John would come back in and be, "Where's Dickers? Where's Dick?" Literally, it looked like his muscles were going to rip through his shirt. Well, what John would do after he came back in from getting the carts was he would like to bother the living crap out of me. Other people too, but especially me. And one of the things that John really enjoyed to do was grab a paddle. They had wooden paddles at this arts and crafts store and smack me on the ass with them. Now, getting hit with a wooden paddle to begin with is a pretty terrible thing. It hurts, they're hard, but a normal wooden paddle, at least when it's a solid one, there's the cushion of air that is sandwiched between the paddle and your ass when it hits, so it'll still hurt, but that cushion of air softens the blow slightly. These were arts and crafts paddles, and they had designs etched throughout them. So they had holes, basically, that didn't allow for there to be a cushion of air, which I guess if you want an ornate paddle is super cool. But when it's being used to be slapped against your ass, it makes it 10 times more painful. And when John, after he was lit up on a bowl of dust, chased after you with one of these paddles, he was going for the gold and hitting your ass as hard as possible. So when John would come back in, high out of his mind, the first thing he would do is be like, "Where's Dix?" And he would be holding a paddle and literally chasing me throughout the store, and I would have to run for my life to not get my ass destroyed by a paddle with holes in it. This happened almost every day. And yes, I did complain about it, and no one cared. So this happened on a daily basis. I was sick of the job. I was maybe working 10 to 15 hours a week anyway, and they were terrible 10 to 15 hours a week. It felt like time was going in reverse when I was there. And due to the fact that I didn't clean the bathrooms and I never got anything done for obvious reasons, and again, I also didn't care about the job, they eventually let me go. I remember going into Colleen's office, which was full of smoke, and her saying, "You haven't cleaned the bathrooms. Those bathrooms needed to be cleaned. They haven't been cleaned properly for weeks. Again, they wanted me to clean them without gloves, so we're going to let you go." And thankfully, because I no longer worked there, my ass wounds healed from not having to deal with John anymore and getting slapped with a paddle.